Hello, and thank you for joining us. This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Voss, Dragon of the Southern Tier. I'm happy to be here with you with our year-end 2022 list. Something a little bit different that we do at the end of each year to look at what you found to be very important throughout the year. The stories and the issues that the major media may not agree with. Now, as always, we do long-form political commentary on this show. And we also every Sunday do a live stream with you. And we appreciate that we have so many people, whether even the bots, even the young Turks, but most importantly, our audience from around the world that join us to make their comments, either on the live stream or on our videos after the fact. We appreciate each and every one of you. So in 2022, we want to take a look back. It's been a challenging year. Better than 2020, better than 2021, but we are nowhere near back to normal. And there have been a lot of things that have been weighing on all of us that we have discussed on this program. Of course, that doesn't necessarily match the things that we're being told were important in 2022. According to Google and USA Today, Wordle was the most important search of 2022. Election results were right up there. The death of Betty White and Queen Elizabeth and Bob Saget were massively on people's minds. But in terms of the top news, it was, of course, again, the midterm elections and the results. Queen Elizabeth passing, Ukraine, Hurricane Ian, monkeypox, Uvalde, Will Smith and the Oscars, the slap heard around the world, which I don't really think was news, that's entertainment. Johnny Depp's verdict and Roe v. Wade, something we were so many promises were made, so many claims were made about that to get us through and connected directly to the election. It's funny how Carrie Lake, who is still ongoing in her election in Arizona, it's still an ongoing issue, massively suppressed, as well as that election and its results. Adam Tate, also massively suppressed. But that's something you're going to see in this list. There are things we're going to talk about this year that you're not going to see the major media tell you were important, but you know they were. Kanye West was something that's massively important. Gun control and the laws that are telling us that we will be safe if we just have one more law. That was something we talked about all year. Inflation and the food crisis that is affecting each and every American and around the world. Something that we talked about. The North Korean missile crisis, which is threatening Southeast Asia, our allies in South Korea and Japan, and threatening the safety of the United States. That's something we've talked about. Taiwan being in danger from China. Again, international politics where the United States is right in the center of that. It's not just the Ukraine. Ketanji Brown Jackson in the Supreme Court. Abortion. Illegal immigration, which is surging again and has not stopped since the Biden-Harris administration came in. There's so much. The 18-year-old that was killed because he had the wrong politics, according to one Democrat driver who didn't like someone being a Republican. So many stories that we covered all year long, and we're going to go through what you thought were some of the top stories. Now, I do want to give a shout out very quickly to my friend John Rastusha, who makes the J-Rest break that you see, the shorts that we do on this channel. He's in control of that. He's done a phenomenal job this year, and we really appreciate each and every one of them that he's done. They have been a success each and every time that he has done it. And I do also want to mention very briefly, it didn't make it to the list, but I think it's important to mention our battle with critical race theory. At SUNY Broome College, we were fighting that fight, and whether it's popular or not, it's a fight that we will continue to make because that is the right thing to do. But without further ado, let me show you the runner-ups and then the top list of all the videos that you found important, and more importantly, the moments in those top videos that you paid the most attention to. We appreciate you. We thank you, and we look forward to keeping you as our audience in the future.
What's going on, guys? It's me, John Rasucci, here with the J-Rest break for you today. Be sure to have a great holiday season. It's kicking off strong. And today we're going to be talking about Disney, one of our favorite topics to talk about on the J-Rest break. We're going to talk about Bob Iger's comments. So Bob Iger is now, again, the CEO of Disney. He is saying he regrets what he did in Florida and going up against the Florida anti-grooming bill. But here's the thing. He can say he can regret it. And he's coming back and he can say all this stuff like, I'm not going to have wokeness in our shows. We need to get back to entertainment. How come there's still woke propaganda coming out, right? Willow has been announced as a woke remake or sequel to the original film, which was supposed to be a ripoff of Lord of the Rings, which, as you know, they tried to turn woke and failed. I don't buy that Bob Iger has changed yet until I actually start to see change, so don't trust the headlines. What?
User has been banned, says, little Johnny says, Mommy, I'm a fire truck. Aggressive mom goes, okay, let's paint you red, stick a tailpipe on you. No. It's a joke, but it's not. Real. And we used to have musicians who would call this out. Now, I'm not saying that everyone against it. I'm not saying that no one should be able to say they agree with it. I'm not saying those things. I believe in the First Amendment. I believe in near absolutism. Means that I believe say virtually anything you want to, unless it incites violence directly. That's the First Amendment. First Amendment protects the voices and the speech that I don't like. Same thing applies to you. First Amendment protects speech you don't like. That's the First Amendment. It's not there to protect your speech that you like or that you want to hear. That's not what the First Amendment does. It protects the speech you don't want to hear. It protects the speech you don't like. For the people who would want to call me or you a racist, sexist, transphobe for saying that an 8-year-old doesn't have the right and shouldn't have the right to change their body forever because they don't have the comprehension what their body is yet. For the people who say that, oh, well, you're racist, you're transphobe, you're whatever, why does their speech more important or more correct or more heard than mine? Who made that decision? Because they feel like they're right? Well, I feel like I'm right too. Why do they have the superior position? Why is it the news media doesn't want to have anyone else have a voice? Why do they say that any other voice is just evil? It's bad. Can't say that. Why not? Why not? Because no one ever asks, why can't you say that? Why can't I do that? Why can't I have a different opinion? Why can't I have a white or a centrist-leaning point of view? Why can't I put out music that's more left-leaning or right-leaning or centrist? Why can't I put out books? Why does every character have to be? Why in movies or in books? Why do all the characters have to be diverse? Lord of the Rings. Why do they have to be black dwarves? Why? Why does there have to be a black elf? Why? Why must there be? Because, well, Mike, like Lord of the Rings, black people, Lord of the Rings is translated in over 8 languages. In my lifetime, in my 54 years of life, there are 80 different languages that they have translated the Lord of the Rings into. There is a fan base that is so large and so global that they made 3 movies, and they've each movie made over $1 billion a piece. So big that they are making TV shows about this. That's on top of the books that have been selling for 50 years. I don't think only white people were reading the books. I don't think that only white people could connect to it. You tell me that I can only connect black, male, Hispanics, and that's the only people who I can connect to and understand and appreciate. That is one of the most racist, insensitive, and stupid things I have ever heard in my life.
What's going on, guys? It's me, John Masucci, here with the J Rest Break for you today. Be sure to comment, like, subscribe. We're close to 1,000 subscribers. It helps out the channel. So today I'm going to be talking about Beto O'Rourke, Beta Male O'Rourke, and people may not know he's running for governor of Texas. I sometimes forget that he's running as well because he's lost almost everything he's ran for. He lost the presidential, he lost the U.S. Senate. There's no doubt he's going to lose the governorship, but during his speech talking about AR-15s, someone in the audience thought something he said was infactual and laughed because, to be fair, it was infactual. He said something along the lines of AR-15s are weapons of war, and they aren't. So Beto, in response, cursed the guy out and got really mad. What is it up with Democrats cursing out constituents or possible future constituents? It's crazy to me. They're unhinged because they're gonna lose. What's going on?
If we need to tell people this in a hospital and they didn't know beforehand that being a criminal is bad and that it could harm them or others, then we have failed as a society. We have completely failed as a culture, and there is a problem far bigger than any socialist is going to, or social worker is going to be able to resolve. This is stupid. The failure isn't at this point. We're dealing with the symptom, not the problem. But let's go further. Addressing the social determinants of health. These social workers will elevate the issues of revolving door violence while addressing inequity and building partnerships with communities and survivors of violence. So you have survived being stabbed, you have survived being shot, you have survived being mugged, beaten up, whatever the reason, whatever the problem was that put you into a hospital. Good for you. And you have had a social worker who has the same skin color of you because no one else could possibly understand what it is to be shot or mugged or beaten down or to be involved, a victim of crime. No one can understand that unless they have the exact same skin color as you because diversity. Okay. And in this, they are going to go and deal with the inequity of white people not also being shot and stabbed and beaten down by violence like you just did, even though, looking at the statistics, yes, they do. So does everyone in America and around the world. Violence and criminal activity are not restricted by race or gender or religion. It happens to everyone, everywhere in the world, and there is no specialization for any one group. Happens to everyone. Everyone needs help with that. And the problem is bigger than telling someone it's really bad. Crime is really bad. It sucks. I'm sorry. This is a stupid program to me. And I want you to understand that the people who are backing these kinds of ideas come out of one of the programs. And what you will see are things like this. The Rochester Against Gun Violence Coalition. That's one of the groups in this organization. Okay? That they are here to tell people, to send social workers to tell you that crime is bad. The Rochester's Against Gun Violence Coalition. And let's take a look. And what do you see? The coalition is made up of Democrats. Councilman Willie Lightfoot, Legislator Sabrina Lamar. These are Democrats. These are elected Democrats. This is the Democratic Party. There has to be more about this because the public really doesn't know. I guarantee you don't know what these programs do. And so I had to look up one of the most cited reports on the benefits of a hospital-based peer intervention program for violently injured youth. This has been cited over 100 times. It is the top cited program that I can find on Google when I was searching for this information. And in looking at this report, which comes from 2007, the thing that is important, the result out of a total sample size of 154 patients. That's it. It is a study, a design that was from January of 1998 until June of 2003. There were 154 patients, which is a stupidly small sample size. And it was for a time of 18 months, a year and a half, an incredibly short period of time. So in an incredibly short period of time, with a sample of almost nobody, they were to find out participation in the hospital-based peer intervention program lowered the risk of criminal justice involvement. There was no effect on the risk of re-injury and death. What? It doesn't stop people from getting hurt or being dead? This program to stop violence doesn't stop violence. Question that comes to my mind instantly is money. So you're saying, okay, we have thousands of people who are receiving funds for various reasons from New York State.
Yep.
But we're paying them out in part because if we did a lump sum, then we're talking about a massive amount of money. By the way, for the people who are making comments, I do see your comments. There are questions there. Actually, we're getting to several of them. So be patient with us.
I'm here. I'll answer.
But so the question is, can New York State afford these kind of lump sum settlements? I mean, I'm just thinking of a couple of lawsuits recently, sexual assault or police. These are the ones on the headlines. We're talking about, I can easily off the top of my head think of $10 million worth of funds.
Absolutely.
There's got to be more.
Yep.
Do we have that money?
So let me cover a couple pieces of that. There's several parts of that. Number one, first off, we're already spending a whole lot more for shit that doesn't work.
Yeah.
We're already throwing tons of money into things that don't work already.
Absolutely.
So if we just stop that, yes. So just if we stop that, if we stop throwing money into an office of cannabis management, which is useless, or another ethics commission, which is useless, right? All these just get rid of those, which will all be literally millions upon millions of dollars. Just end that, and yes, number one. But next off, not everybody's going to do this. Most people aren't. How any new program works that's voluntary, which is why people don't do it voluntarily. If you force people, they do it because it's forced. If it's voluntary, it follows the market rules, which means there will be a couple of early adopters. That's how it always works.
Sure.
Most people will do nothing. A couple will go, wait a minute, I've always wanted a co-op. I can do that? And a couple will do it. Then others will watch. So what am I doing? I am slowly incentivizing local businesses. That's how it actually works. People aren't going to rush to do it. Plus, you got to find 20 people. What person can just randomly find 20 people? You got to find enough people who will all have buy-in. And because it's a co-op, they all have to spend some money. You have to buy into the co-op. So I got to find 20 people who will be able to buy in. Most of them will buy in because they're getting government money, which is fine. So the government is now voluntarily putting money into local businesses that it's going to spend anyway. It's not a program that a government has to oversee with bureaucracy and blah, 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 which we always do. Or we don't bribe some big business to come in. We give them tax cuts for the next 5 years. Then they crush the small businesses and leave. Been doing that for decades too. This allows a local person, if they want to open up a local area and support a local credit union, which if there are financial problems in the United States, which many people think there are, the salvation will be local credit union. So we are prepping ourselves, even in the case of a financial crisis, we are prepping the state to survive it and weather it better.
So to an extent, it sounds like you're redefining, or like the popular word now is reimagining, the economic zones that have been the wonderkin of changing New York State for the last 7 years.
They've just failed.
Yes,
They've never succeeded. They should all go away. We should end the Empire Development Corporation needs to go away immediately. And once we get rid of that, we have enough money to do what I just said.
Yes. Okay. So now I see where the money comes from. Okay.
Just dump that. We have enough money, right? Just end that.
So that's the way to incentivize business, as opposed to the Empire Economic Zones. Instead of going to SUNY schools, you're going to the communities, community-based, and using those funds for that.
Well, we learned during the COVID lockdowns that communities in most parts of this state are not ready to support themselves. And they should be able to. We have relied upon government for so many decades that once government goes away, we begin to collapse because we've lost the institutional knowledge in our communities to support ourselves. This is a way of bringing that back to the best of our ability. It can't happen overnight. This program will not work immediately. It will begin to work. And the best part is the people who will jump on it will be the most motivated. So if there is a chance to succeed, and I don't know if worker co-ops work. I feel like they don't, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's the wave of the future. And if it is, they will show us how to do it, and we will all voluntarily become worker co-ops. That would be amazing. I hope they're right. But if they're wrong, they'll stop talking about it, and we'll go back to regular business, whatever. Either way, it's working, and it's getting people to think locally.
That's important. Our education system needs to be positive, not just about the children and what their future is, but also that they are American. Because in my lifetime, having lived in Moscow, having lived in Tbilisi, Riga, and seeing an attempted coup, and talking to people around the world, you know what? We have a great nation that has uplifted more people than any other civilization, any other nation that has ever been. And that's why I love this document. And I do recommend everyone who's seeing this, take a moment, read that, and tell me how this proposal you've put forward, look at it and see it in your school board and tell me it's not going to make your kids better if the school board's following that. I truly believe
it. I appreciate those really kind words. And this, again, comes back to community organizing. Mm-hmm. We are counting on citizens to sign up with Look Ahead America, to accept our trading. We give guidance, resources, money in some cases, to get you to organize your neighborhood, figure out how your school board meetings work, meet with members in advance, go to the school board, and pressure them to vote on this resolution. Now, we've had it voted on a few times, and it's actually lost. But that's not a loss for us. It did not pass. It's actually a victory for us because it informs us what members of those school boards think and allows the public to become aware of where those school board members stand on the most important issue of a school board. So even in loss, we now identify folks who don't really care about this country, support CRT, who want to see us divided and weak. So even in the losing a vote at a school board, we reap tremendous benefit because now let's say somebody's running against one of those school board members, they can bring this up as an issue and club them about it.
And possibly vote them out, which is always a good thing. People need to be involved in voting for the issues you believe in and against the people who are ineffective and not promoting the best interests of the nation. I believe that completely, and that's one of the things this channel takes on. This is a useless bill. It does nothing to benefit you, but it does emotionally make you feel like it's doing something. It does allow politicians to say they have done something. We know that is the worst thing you could possibly say. In politics, if someone has done something, it is almost inevitably always the worst thing that could possibly happen. It means they haven't done anything for you, but they have made their power greater and have made it beneficial to them and their political ideology. And that is what we are seeing here. Because this allows people to abuse the system. According to New York State, now we can see various groups of progressives and others go out there and attack people socially online, saying that they have been offended, that they have somehow suffered because of a mean tweet, a bad meme on Facebook, because they don't agree with a commentary on YouTube. They're going to then demand that gets shut down because it's for the public safety. You aren't going to be made any safer, but that political agenda is now going to be advanced because they can silence their opposition. This was about silencing you, the public. It isn't meant to make you safer. It's meant to shut you up. You have to obey, political leaders and certain political factions. You must obey. You must accept the approved messaging. And if you do not, New York State, the full power of New York State and New York State's government will oppress you. This is so unconstitutional, it is insane. It violates your Second Amendment right, where you have a right by birth to be able to defend yourself. Think of all the moms, all of the young women of all ages that are protecting their families, that want to protect themselves. Think of all of the families and individuals across New York State that want to protect themselves from gangs and gang violence. And they're being told, because you have a tweet, a meme, because you have watched a video, or perhaps created a video, even about a video game that someone else finds objectionable, that their feelings were hurt, you no longer can defend yourself. You can no longer exercise your constitutional rights, your rights by birth. You no longer have that freedom. How is this not like what we see in China today? How is this not like what we see in Venezuela today? How is this not like what we see in North Korea or Cuba, Iran, and Russia? Because this is that kind of mentality that you must obey the oppressive government without question, or else you are the problem. You must be attacked. Remember, what did Joe Biden say in Philadelphia during his Reichstag speech? You are the problem if you don't agree. You are the problem if you do not obey, if you ask questions, if you have a different point of view. So the question from Lester Holt to Joe Biden is, in your conversations with Anthony Blinken and himself directly, did you tell Vladimir Putin that if Americans die, that is a red line and the United States will take action, that this is something that cannot happen even by accident in the fog of war? His initial answer from Joe Biden, as you just heard it, was yes. I told Putin not to endanger Americans' lives, that would be a problem. And when Lester Holt clarified, you told him that. You told him, don't you dare endanger American lives, that this is a red line and this will bring the full force of the United States military. And the answer from Joe Biden was, no, I didn't have to tell him that. So you just lied. You just lied to Lester Holt on NBC on February 10th in front of the American people. You just lied. You didn't tell him that American citizens' lives was a red line, a line in the sand. This was something that would bring about the full force of the United States government. You lied. You, Joe Biden, are a liar. You lied to the American people, and it's on NBC. This is the left-leaning news media. He lied to you. He lied to you, the American people. You can debate whether or not it's necessary to make that statement. Although, if we're talking about diplomacy, if we're talking about trying to disencourage Vladimir Putin and Russia from invading the Ukraine, using American citizens as a hostage, using them as a bargaining chip, saying that if any of the Americans in the Ukraine were to be harmed because of the actions of Russia and any of its agents, even accidentally shooting or bombing or I don't know, whatever the situation may be, that would cause harm to American citizens, would bring the full fire and fury of the United States government into this conflict. Now, that would be something that would make any nation, should make any nation, pause. We used to do that with presidents who had balls. You're endangering American citizens. We will drop bombs on you. We will send troops over and attack you. We will activate our carriers around the world and come straight at you. You do not endanger American citizens' lives for fear of the giant being awoken, and we will take a big step and drop you. Any nation should be afraid of that.
Okay. Kids in school. And I'm going to tell you something. Kathy Hochul acts like she works for Pfizer. She is promoting an untested vaccine approved only under EUA. There are only 2 approved, and they are not available in the United States. What they are pushing is an experimental vaccine with thousands of side effects. Follow the money. Follow the money. Who is contributing to the campaigns of people like Kathy Hochul? Number 2, on the masks. Wearing a mask is like trying to hold a virus behind a chain link fence. Kathy Hochul, hold it to the teachers' union. She is beholden to them, her voting base, and their money through their coat funds for their campaigns. She is holding the unions above the needs of the children. It must stop. It must stop. We the people have to demand that it stop. Hochul needs to go. And our representatives need to stand up and stop the charade. This thing is over. And it ends today.
But I have a problem with locking down the church. Because the same people who say, well, freedom of speech, they forget that in that First Amendment is also freedom of religion. You are doing my stuff. I love you. I love bringing you everywhere I go. We must change the system. The system is broken, and the system will not change if we keep doing the same thing.
You know, I got to tell you something about anybody that might be thinking of leaving the state. Never run from a battle. You hold your ground, you draw the line, you stand your ground, and you defend where you are. Because I'm going to tell you, we can run from our state. We can go anywhere we want. Yeah, that's true. But you know what's going to happen? You're going to face the same battle in a different state, probably in 1 or 2 more years, because we ran from this one. This mom, this grandma, this veteran's wife, I'm not going anywhere. This is my state. I was born and raised here, and I'm going to fight for it all the way. 2 weeks to slow the spread, we all know, turned into big government, both federal and state. Both federal and state government workers, representatives, they all continued to get paid with full benefits, while our businesses were shut down. We had Congress and state government representatives actually looking at us, we the people, labeling us essential and non-essential. We were banned from seeing our loved ones, attending graduations, holding funerals, keeping our businesses open, to earn our own livelihoods, while bureaucrats who are dependent on us for their salaries continued to lecture us and told us, quote, just hold on a little bit longer, because after all, we're all in this together. But the problem is, we weren't.
Perhaps if we're lucky, they may pause for a moment and demonstrate a little bit of their skill. We'll see. They don't bring the wild witch too long.
They're going to turn everything into Mary Sue Ray out of Star Wars and all of their books, because that's what they want. It's like, you've got to do that. And, you know, and probably the next time, instead of Finn being just black and comedic, he's going to be black, comedic, and gay, most likely. I mean, that's what they're going to turn their characters into.
Well, you know, and I'm all in favor of having trans characters or gay characters, as long as it makes sense for the character. As long as as a writer, I go, how is this fundamental to the actual character, and what does this do for their arc? When you just do it for the sake of doing it, I don't think it adds anything to the creative process at all. It just looks like what you're doing is virtue signal.
Well, yeah, but
I've got 3 trans characters in this book, and I don't play that game. I'm not that guy. I'm not going to sit around virtue signal stuff. But it's been amazing because here they've won the battle. You took me out. Congratulations. 85% of the fans hate the fact that it was done, and now they're just waging war among themselves, going, well, you guys need to understand how evil Blink really was. The fact that you sit around data mining my stuff and trying to put a spin to it is amazing. It literally tells me that you are sitting in your parents' basement with your pants around your ankles on the internet all day. And my applause to you for trying to take me out, but you're only hurting the rest of the fan, and you're making this a toxic bet. Yeah, I had one person today go, "You're just doing this to sell books." If I was going to do that, I would have released the story on June 29th when it dropped.
Yeah.
The reality is, I got 6 books or 7 books that are released this year. Having said that, at any point in time, I always have a book out.
Yeah.
That and you're telling me if I'm writing conservative thrillers, I shouldn't at least mention them during all this? Well, you're just a moron.
That under the umbrella of LGBTQAI+, under the umbrella of intersectionality, we see that people are willing to misrepresent facts, misrepresent themselves, to attack unjustifiably individuals on a personal basis to be able to push forward an agenda regardless of what the cost is for that. So I've said that, but let me show you the actual conversation.
Hello, my name is Quentin Merritt. I'm a mathematician and a physicist here, double major, and I also just won the most prestigious award in the country to pursue research at any institution I want, the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship.
So let's stop right there. The first thing that we are told immediately in this conversation, which is after Ben Shapiro had been speaking for about 30 minutes and presented his case. This student, who, by the way, as we later find out, had just come from a gym to attend the event, Quentin Merritt, starts off by saying that he is a mathematician and a physicist. This is a lie. And this is a lie that is done purposefully because it is a logic fallacy. It is the assumption that he is an authority, and therefore, as an authority, he is able to confront Ben Shapiro, who is an authority, who is a recognized authority, who is the speaker at the event. So he's trying to use his titles as a means to support and raise up his argument to be able to silence anyone who would disagree with what he is about to say. Now, we don't dispute whether or not he received an award. And if he did, just as Ben Shapiro said, congratulations, good for him to be able to excel. But what Quentin has just told us is he is a student. He is studying a double major. That does not make him an authority. That does not make him a mathematician nor a physicist. He is a student. He is someone who is learning about these subjects. And whether or not he actually does get a degree, again, does not make him an authority in those fields. It just makes him someone who got a degree, which he may get in the future. He then puts up his award to further substantiate that he is an authority, but he isn't. Yes, he got the award, but that does not make him an authority. We have to understand the way that people are being trained to attack those they disagree with, the way that they are being taught how to silence others around them through tricks and illogical arguments that are only meant to suppress others. So that's what Quentin has said so far, and already he has already deflated and devalued the rest of his argument because he has created this fallacy to start. Let's go on. We're going to hear that, well, yes, President Trump is a racist because he had a dinner. No. What we know for a fact is President Trump had a dinner with Kanye West, someone he's spoken to before, something that was scheduled for over a month. And that Kanye brought in individuals who have very questionable ideologies, including those ideologies of Kanye West, that are somewhat troubling. Now, we don't know exactly what was discussed in that meeting. That's still unknown to the larger public. I have reason to believe that there were various conversations going on and they got heated, from what I can gather. And I would say that the conversation went sideways for reasons that have very little to do with politics, that it was an entirely different subject, and that those individuals there, they didn't really speak about politics, to my knowledge, from what I can gather from sources and research. So Trump has nothing to apologize for. Kanye does. And that's who we should be focused on. But Kanye isn't as popular. He isn't running for president in a credible manner. Trump is. So Trump is going to be demonized. But Trump has nothing to apologize for. I disagree with the Wall Street Journal on that. Now, what else do we see that came out of the roughly 17 minutes that Kanye West was on in the interview with Tim Pool? Let's take a look. So Kanye is talking about a great many things. It is not the clearest conversation or clearest monologue that he was having, which is a little different than the way Tim Pool normally does it. He has a conversation which may or may not include things that people are known for. Fair enough. And Kanye is the one who decided that he wanted to talk about his statements on anti-Semitism. Fair enough. So Tim was willing to have that conversation. And I want to pick up this portion of this. This is the very end, just before Kanye leaves. So let's hear what he had to say here.
If we can't, you're not going to take my pain away, right? The Jewish people say, it's the Holocaust, this happened, and you can't say anything about it. We can't take their pain away. No one's going to denounce the fact that they tried to lock me up. That's what, because every time I'm just holding stride, and it's like, I thought I was more Malcolm X, but I find out I'm more MLK, because as I'm getting hosed down every day by the press and financially, I'm just standing there. And when I found out that they tried to put me in jail, it was like a dog was biting my arm, and I almost shed a tear, almost, but I still walked in stride through it. Yeah. I think.
Okay, before Tim Pool goes any further, and again, I'm not showing you the whole thing. You can see the whole thing at Timcast IRL and see it for yourself. But I'm watching it, and it's somewhat confused. Where is the point? And I wanted to give you enough context to be able to see Kanye is going through several different issues, several different subjects very quickly and without great detail. But he has a very strong viewpoint that is very much against a certain religious a certain religious grouping of people, which I think is unfair, very unfair, and something that Tim Pool had already addressed earlier in this conversation, that he didn't share that view either. And I don't find Kanye to be anything like Martin Luther King, and I don't find him to be anything like Malcolm X. Those are very different men with very different situations, and they truly blazed the ground for everybody today to be where we are in race relations, on the positive side, not the negative. But he's made some allegations here, and they're not fair. Be well. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.